The Cloud of Unknowing is a 14th century mystical text written by an anonymous Christian monk. It offers guidance on contemplative prayer, meditation, and the quest for a deeper understanding of God. Carmen Butcher's translation aims to make the text more accessible to modern readers. The title refers to the cloud of unknowing that separates humans from the divine. This cloud represents the limitations of human understanding and the impossibility of fully grasping the nature of God through intellectual knowledge. The author writes about the title: when I refer to this exercise as a darkness or a cloud, I don't want you to imagine the darkness that you get inside your house at night when you blow out a candle, nor do I want you to imagine a cloud crystallized from the moisture in the air. When I say darkness, I mean the absence of knowing. Whatever you do not know and whatever you've forgotten are dark to you because you do not see them with your spiritual eyes. For the same reason, by cloud, I do not mean a cloud in the sky, but a cloud of unknowing between you and God. Now, one of the critical themes running through the work is that God cannot be known with our minds, with our reason, but only in our love. We cannot think our way to God. According to the author, contemplation basically means coming to know God through love. The only way it is really possible to know Him. Thought cannot comprehend God, and so the author prefers to abandon all that he knows and suggests to the reader to abandon all that he knows, choosing rather to love Him whom I cannot know. Though we cannot know Him, we can love Him. It is laudable to reflect on God's kindness and to love and praise Him for it. And it is far better to let your mind rest in the awareness of Him in His naked existence and to love and praise Him for what He is in Himself. Contemplation is best pursued, according to this author, by simple reflection on a single word. Sin and God are the two commended to us. He discourages trying to attain an experience of God through the senses and encourages dismissing both our thoughts and feelings into a cloud of forgetting. Now, what I found attractive with this work is its wisdom and sense. We are assured that longing for God is enough, as this will open us to a deeper understanding of God. He discourages strenuous physical exertions that weaken us, and he stresses the value of pursuing our contemplation accompanied by a spiritual director. He identifies 4 stages of spiritual maturity, with no sense that one is better than another, but only reflect a progress in love for God. The first is the ordinary, which is our active life in the world. Then the special, where one continues to live an active life but also longs for God and begins to contemplate. And then the singular is where contemplation becomes the focus of one's life, praying without ceasing in love toward God. And lastly, the perfect, where we are with God as we pass from this life into God's presence. The author suggests that we set aside all ideas about the creation, all worldly actions, and all, as he often repeats, all the bodily senses. In fact, even the intellect cannot attain to the heights of union with the divine. God is beyond the reach of all created intellectual faculties. Quite simply, we are to forget everything temporal so as to remember only God and Himself. In the Advaita Vedantic language, we would say that only God is Sat. All else, the finite mind, the physical body, and the various worlds being Asat. That is, only God is truly real. Everything else only borrows its apparent existence from God and in this sense is unreal. This same concept is also present in Sufi Islam by the name of Wahdatul Wujud, or the unity of being, the theory of the unity of being. And in many other religions as well, such as in Buddhism, you can find it by the name of Advaya. And like I said, in Hinduism, by the name of Advaita Vedanta. Now, in short, the genuine seeker, the author says, is to long so deeply and so steadily for the real that he or she can learn to forget for a time all that is unreal. The cloud of unknowing is, as it were, midway between the real and the unreal, between God and all that is to be forgotten. It all begins with God's gentle stirring of love within us, love desiring God for God's sake and not for His gifts. Center all your attention and desire on Him, and let this be the sole concern of your mind and heart. Do all in your power to forget everything else, keeping your thoughts and desires free from involvement with any of God's creatures or their affairs, whether in general or in particular. Perhaps this will seem like an irresponsible attitude, but I tell you, let them all be. Pay no attention to them. This is the invitation to contemplative work. To respond to this invitation is to turn toward God, to simply sit in His presence. It sounds so simple, yet it can only be done through the grace given by the one who knows us best and loves us most. We become with all the knowledge we have accumulated, with all the cares and concerns that have affected our lives and touched our human desires. The author tells us to diligently persevere until you feel joy in contemplation. For in the beginning it is usual to feel nothing but a kind of darkness about your mind, or as it were, a cloud of unknowing. Return to it as often as you can, letting your spirit cry out to Him whom you love. For if in this life you hope to feel and see God as He is in Himself, it must be within this darkness and cloud. If you wish to enter into this cloud of unknowing, you must do something more. Just as the cloud of unknowing lies above you, between you and your God, so you must fashion a cloud of forgetting beneath you, between you and every living thing. The cloud of unknowing will perhaps leave you with the feeling that you are far from God. But no, if it is authentic, only the absence of a cloud of forgetting keeps you from Him now. You are to concern yourself with no creature, whether material or spiritual, nor with their situation and doings, whether good or ill. To put it briefly, during this work you must abandon them all beneath the cloud of forgetting. Most that come to contemplation are plagued by what I refer to as a popcorn mind. Every time I try to simply be quiet in God's presence, all kinds of thoughts pop into my mind. Some of those thoughts are good thoughts about God, His love, His work, etc. With the author of The Cloud, we ask, I don't understand why you advise me to abandon them beneath a cloud of forgetting. The author answers, first of all, you want to know what kind of thoughts they are, pretending to be so helpful. To this I say, these are the clear ideas of natural intelligence which reason conceives in your mind. As to whether they are good or evil, I must insist that they are always good in themselves, for your intelligence is a reflection of the divine intelligence. But what you do with them may be either good or evil. Certainly, they are good when, with God's grace, they help you understand your sinfulness, the kindness of God, or the marvels that He works throughout creation. But they become evil when, inflated by pride, intellectual curiosity, and egoism, they corrupt your mind. Of course, it is impossible in this life to see and possess God fully, but with His grace and in His own time, it is possible to taste something of Him as He is in Himself. And so, with great longing for Him, enter into this cloud. Or rather, I should say, let God awaken your longing and draw you to Himself in this cloud while you strive with the help of His grace to forget everything else. The author says, the first time you practice contemplation, you will only experience a darkness, like a cloud of unknowing. You will not know what it is. You will only know that in your will you feel a simple reaching out to God. You must also know that this darkness and this cloud will always be between you and God, whatever you do. They will always keep you from seeing Him clearly by the light of understanding in your intellect, and will block you from feeling Him fully in the sweetness of love in your emotions. So be sure to make your home in this darkness. Stay there as long as you can, crying out to Him over and over again because you love Him. It is the closest you can get to God here on earth by waiting in this darkness and in this cloud. Work at this diligently as I've asked you to, and I know God's mercy will lead you there. The author draws to a close with renewed concern and admonition, stating, as in the foreword, that the cloud of unknowing will not be for everyone. He did not write for the curious or disinterested. He wrote rather for those who sensed the grace-filled call to this intimate prayer and work. He says, one of the most obvious and certain signs by which a person may know if he has been called to this work is the attitude he detects in himself when he has found again the lost gift of grace. For if, after long delay and inability to do this work, he feels his desire for it renewed with greater passion and a deeper longing of love, so much so that As I often think, the sorrow he felt at its loss seems like nothing at all beside his joy at finding it again. He need have no fear of error in believing that God is calling him to contemplation, regardless of what sort of person he is now or has been in the past. It is not what you are, nor what you have been, that God sees with his all merciful eyes, but what you desire to be. May God give you and all who love him true peace, wise counsel, and his own inferior joy in the fullness of grace.